So did you hear the one about the pastor who was about to walk into a bar? The person in front of him turned around and gave him some good advice. She said, duck. Get it? Walk into a bar. I hope that I don't have to duck today. And here's my favorite joke of all time. It's a kid joke, perhaps PG rated. What did the fish say when it ran into a concrete wall? Damn. I hope that after today, I don't feel like I have run into a concrete wall. Now one more. Did you hear the one about the pastor who was asked to speak at a civic club on election day with the topic of reconciliation in times of division? I hope that you will not go home today thinking that this was all a big joke. I'm going to try to avoid being too controversial, so I'm going to focus on a couple of things that should keep me from having to duck. Two things: children and math. My wife and I are raising two grandchildren. They are 10 and 8, and we've had them about 6 years now. And this is the beginning of a math problem. We are a family now. After raising 3 children and doing our time, so to speak, this is not what we thought we would be doing at this point in our lives. But we are, and it is good. We go to bed most nights and are able to say, that was okay. We made it. It was a good day. What I want to reflect upon for a moment is how different these two children are. They are just a couple of years apart in age, but so different in the way that they see the world. One is a math whiz. He thinks in terms of numbers and equations, and it is remarkable how quickly he can do all of this in his head. And he is precise. He'll get upset if we tell him that we're going to pick him up at 5:30 and we show up at 5:27. He will point that out, maybe even to the second. The second child knows that 2 plus 2 is 4. She can pass the test. But one day she proudly informed us that 2 plus 2 equals fish. You see, if you take 2 2s and put them back to back, they look like a fish. I was amazed. And this way of seeing the world led to 3 plus 3 equals 8. If you take 2 3s and put them back to back, they make an 8. And 2 7s can make a triangle. Now, I can imagine that these two children will grow up and have very different political views and theological views. How could they not? And yet, I can also imagine them still loving one another and working together to create a reality that is better than either could have created on their own. And the question then becomes, what do I need to do now to help make this happen? How can I cultivate that kind of cooperation? And here's the challenge, especially when I have to spend a lot of time now saying, just stop touching each other, or stop fighting, or just get along. And I find myself saying these kinds of things when they are acting like what? Children. They are children. And yes, sometimes when they are acting like children, I don't always exhibit great maturity. I'll admit that. It is a challenge. Let's think a little bit more about 2 plus 2. Sometimes a 2 plus 2 does equal 4. Sometimes it doesn't. in terms of a group of people working on a project or a goal, if these two people view these two with suspicion, maybe even use words like evil just because they have different ideas, and then if this is countered by these two with mistrust and dismissal, then 2 plus 2 can equal 0, nothing. Or if these two are successful in running these two off, then the plus sign turns into a sign of division. And 2 divided by 2 equals 1. These two then have successfully created a little world that is limited to one perspective, where unity is defined as uniformity. And now compare that equation to what can happen when people come together in a spirit of respect and a desire to learn and grow and find solutions better than either could have come up with on their own. And here I do have to use a biblical metaphor. Jesus talked about seeds falling on good soil and then increasing 30, 60, 100-fold. You see, there are times when 2 plus 2 can equal 30, 60, 100. What kind of good soil, what kind of good environment is needed to yield such positive results? I can't get around describing this as love. And I must turn to the definition of love in the scriptures, where we read that love is patient and kind. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. That's a good word for us today. We are called to a humility that does not insist on its own way. So in this good soil, with these values planted here and cultivated and honored in the larger community, then 2 plus 2 can expand exponentially. The fruit can become as numerous as the stars. Now, for this to happen, it does require a healthy understanding of the word party, as in a political party or a theological party. The word party is built upon the word part. One of the most destructive things that we can do is to use power in an attempt to turn a part into the whole, to make it the whole. Have you heard the term, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts? That's such a better goal. And if you want to know what this looks like, where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, look in the mirror. You are greater than the sum of your parts. This can be true of a community as well, and perhaps a nation. The Apostle Paul uses a simple illustration for this. He uses the human body and how the many parts are created to work in harmony for a higher purpose. He says things like this: the eye cannot say to the ear, "You should be an eye," or the hand doesn't say to the foot, "I have no need of you." When we start thinking like that, then 2 plus 2 can never add up to even 4. It can add up to division, to disease, to hurt and harm. History is full of communities falling apart in this way. So now I do want to shift metaphors a bit, and with one that still involves numbers. I want to reflect upon the metaphor of the middle lane. I've used this metaphor often to talk about how we need a strong middle lane. If we are to move forward, we need a lane that respects and includes those who want to move a little faster over here, and a lane that honors and includes those who want to move a little slower over here. And as we work together, sometimes we will need to move this way or that way, but always staying connected to the middle lane that gives us the best perspective of the whole. Now, all metaphors break down at some point. And since I've moved to Jonesboro, I've discovered that there's not a middle lane anywhere to be found, at least not in the way that I'm describing. We have middle lanes, but their purpose is to make a place where we must either turn left or turn right. And meeting in the middle lane is dangerous and to be avoided. So this metaphor doesn't work very well here, but hopefully the concept does work. I would love help in coming up with another metaphor. Maybe a good one is the table. Here in this club, we get to experience eating with others. Doing what we do here every week is such a good way to cultivate good soil. It is a good thing to put ourselves into a place where we spend time with others, and perhaps with others who are not just like us. That enriches the soil of our souls. So, my friends, how would you complete this sentence? I want to be in a community that. Here are a couple of mine. I want to be in a community that rejoices in a child who is able to see how 2 + 2 equals fish. I want to be in a community where groups of people are not turned into issues or problems as a way to promote agendas of exclusion. Here's one more. I want to be in a community where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. How might you complete this sentence? I want to be in a community that. As you ponder this, I really do hope that this thought will help you get through this day, and that it will give us all some math problems to work on together into the future. Thank you for letting me share today.